Questions and answers. Yeah. Here's a great question. Are there any skills or hobbies that you find it difficult to keep current with because of the traveling? Or does it give you a better structure in which to keep consistent? For example, if you wanted to achieve mastery in a martial art, it would be difficult to train consistently for 2 to 5 years and become proficient while on the road. On the other hand, if you just want to be a great yo-yoist, you can do that every day indefinitely. Great question. This is something that I struggle with because I actually do have to consider this when I'm thinking about what I'm trying to learn next, what I'm investing myself in next in terms of both hobbies and pastimes and projects. A good example is guitar. I've been playing guitar since I was, I want to say 14 or 15, and it's something that I love. It's not a huge part of my life in that it's not something that I do professionally or anything, but it is something that I tend to do every day when I have a guitar available. And when possible, when feasible in a given country, in a new home, I will go buy a cheap guitar or borrow it from somebody, borrow a guitar, so that I can play it in between the work that I'm doing. And it really does add something to my life. So this is something that I can continue to grow. Just like the questioner mentioned, the yo-yo, which is something that I've done from time to time as well. I can do that anywhere. I can play guitar a lot of different places as well. On the other hand, there's some places, like one of my recent homes, Mayuyao, where it's like deep in the middle of nowhere in the Philippines, and it would have been very, very difficult to acquire a guitar to play for the time that I was there. So as a result, some of these things I go for long periods of time without being able to enjoy them. Some things I'm kind of kept from doing to begin with. Now that comes with an asterisk. I feel like I'm kept from learning to cook, for instance, because the times when I've been in a place where I've had a good kitchen and I've had the availability of fresh produce and things like this, I've either lived with or hung out with or dated somebody who happened to be an amazing chef, which was just pure happenstance. But as a result, I didn't really have the opportunity to cook because they just tended to cook as part of their pastimes and their regular habits. On the other hand, that asterisk is that if that was really a priority, I think I could go out of my way to make it happen, even if it's a matter of setting aside a month or two to be in a place where there are those that infrastructure and those accoutrements that I need in order to learn to cook. So in a way, it kind of shows what my true priorities are, what I'm able to make work wherever I happen to be. On the other hand, it is more difficult to do some of these things in some places than others. So if you have a passion for archery, you may have trouble traveling with your bows and arrows because those would be hard to check onto a plane, I imagine. On the other hand, there's some things that are much, much easier. So for me, it's kind of a mix of both. I really, really have to focus on what my priorities are. A lot of the hobbies and habits that I've developed and kept with over the years have been things that have been portable, and a lot of the things that haven't been, like painting, for example. I used to paint all the time, but it's very difficult and in some cases incredibly expensive to buy oil paints in a lot of the places that I've gone. And you need a certain amount of space and certain other materials, and a lot of it will be wasted when you leave if you don't take it with you. And so some of these things fall by the wayside. And at a certain point, you kind of have to decide, what is my priority here? Is it painting every day, or is it continuing to travel? At the moment, the choice that I've made is travel, and so I tend to stick with the hobbies and skill sets that I can learn along with that lifestyle choice. But will that always be the case? I'm not sure. I mean, everybody has to make that decision for themselves, and they have to do it in the moment. Right now, travel is more important to me than continuously painting and learning to cook. But hopefully I'll have the chance to incorporate all of these things at some point in the future. I just have to, become more clever about it and figure out a way to make that work. How does your lifestyle affect your ability to collaborate on projects? It does impact the way that I think about collaboration. And for a very long time, it didn't really matter because I've always been more of a lone wolf type. I didn't even like to hang out with the other kids at school when we went on field trips. I hated field trips because I hated having to follow along with a group and put their needs ahead of mine and move in a very, very slow fashion around a really interesting museum or something. And so working with other people, I've tended to find in the past that when I've done it, I've either had to completely divide up responsibilities so that we were all the czar of our different portion of the company, or just work alone. And so working alone is a lot more convenient on the road because I can move at leaps and bounds when I have the time and then kind of just close up and take time off when I need to without worrying about somebody else's schedule being disarrayed by my travel schedule. Something that I found recently, though, and something that I've come to appreciate, is that if you find the perfect fit, you find a group of people whose weaknesses and strengths fit really well with your weaknesses and strengths, then you don't really have to worry so much about that because their schedule will sync up well with yours. In this case, the only business that I'm running right now with other people is a company called Asymmetrical Press, which is a publishing company that I run with two guys, Josh and Ryan, who run a website called The Minimalists. We founded this company together, and we discovered over the years that we've been running this that our strengths and weaknesses really jive well with each other. Rather than the way that they work conflicting with the way that I work, they sync really well. And we all cover different bases, and the 3 points then form like a more stable structure than they would have for any of us individually. And so I would recommend that if you're looking at something like this, if you want to have an extreme lifestyle, look for people not who have the same lifestyle as you, but for people who have complementary lifestyles and complementary skill sets and complementary attitudes, because Josh and Ryan, they are managing business in the way that they are comfortable with, and they wouldn't want to do things the way that I do things. And it's the same in reverse. And if I had looked for other people who were traveling all the time and who wanted to work solo all the time and had bizarre schedules all the time, then we would have had a much more difficult time both working together but also making a business scale and grow and flourish in the way that we have with Asymmetrical. So for me, it's mostly considering that. It's looking at what my actual needs are and then figuring out how that jives with other people. And when I can find the right people, like I found in Josh and Ryan, then I'm totally willing to go into something like that and build something bigger. Otherwise, I tend to look at projects that I can build that are me scale, that are just big enough that I can run them, but are not so huge that I have to interrupt the things that make me happy in order to manage them. That's all I've got this week. If you like this video, a thumbs up like would be awesome. A subscribe would be even better. If you have a question for me to answer, you can leave it in the comments below. If you want to say hello on Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter or wherever the hell, you can find me at Colin is my name. And as always, you can find out more about me and my books at colin.io. Thanks, guys.